Today we're going to make red wine poached pears. It's a beautiful vanilla red wine poaching liquid that not only cooks the pears until they're soft and tender and lightly flavored with wine, but also makes them bright red on the inside. They're brilliantly colored, beautifully flavored, and absolutely divine. Let's get into it. Poaching pears. Pretty simple. Pretty stoked about it. All right, you're gonna need yourself a pot here. Pick one that is able to accommodate the size number of pears that you want to poach, but also not so large that you kind of distribute your liquid in too thin of a line, if you will, or a space on the bottom. So you want to pick one that's like, you know, you're gonna like kind of keep everything kind of clustered together, right? Now, we're making a half batch of what I normally do because I'm poaching 3 pears and I refuse to use an entire bottle of wine to poach 3 pears because it just feels wasteful. Even though there are things that you can do with the poaching liquid, and I'll tell you about that in my blog. So I've got about a half a bottle of wine here. It's a little bit more. Just use the wine that you would drink. These are red wine poached pears, so we need a little bit more sugar, a little less acid. You know, there's a nice balance, right, between red and white. This is a Chianti. You can use, it's delicious with Malbec, it's delicious with Pinot Noir. Really, any of your favorite red wines would be great in this recipe. I've got myself some water. Could you poach straight in the red wine? Yes. Is that advisable? It's gonna be really bitter, it's gonna be really intense, and your pears are gonna be really dark. So, no. Sugar. And we are going to put about a quarter of a vanilla bean. You could use a spent bean pod, that would be lovely. This would be a great use for that, but I don't have a spent one right now, so we're just gonna make our quarter. I'm gonna split it in half, like to give it 2 little legs. And then I'm gonna scrape out my beans. You could omit this if you want. It's not essential, but it does add such a nice flavor to the pears. So pop that in. Lemon. This is the last ingredient that we're gonna place in there. We're just gonna use about a tablespoon of lemon juice. So I'm gonna cut off what will yield about a tablespoon because I know these things. And then I'm gonna squeeze that. I'm gonna check for seeds, and there's no seeds, so I'm just gonna squeeze that right on in. Et voila. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take our almost poaching liquid. It's not poaching liquid yet, it's just a bunch of things in a pot, and we are going to place it on a burner, as one might expect. And we're gonna bring this just to a boil. You wanna kind of dissolve the sugar. You want everything to combine together before you place your pears in it. Otherwise, they're gonna spend a whole lot of time just chilling. And we don't want them to be chilling. We want them to be gradually cooking and soaking up liquid, and the only way to do that is to preheat your liquid. So that's what we're doing. I'm gonna put my top on because I want to go a little faster because I am impatient. So next we're gonna prep our pears. Now, if this was white wine, I wouldn't want to do this quite yet because the pears are going to turn a little bit brown, but since they're going to be absorbing red wine, I don't particularly care at this moment. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get them ready, and then they'll be ready as soon as my poaching liquid combines and starts to simmer. I've got my pears. You can do as many or as few pears as you'd like. That's the beautiful thing about poaching pears is that, you know, you could do 1, why? But you could. Or you could do 45. It's been done. If you have that big of a pot in your kitchen though, like, you're a badass. All right, so just peel thy pears. You can peel them any which way, but you will see, you know, if you're being persnickety, which you know I am always, you can see the direction in which you peeled your pears. So if you're just like doing all the things, when they're poached, you will see those like kind of gradual shading lines. And maybe you don't care, and that's cool, but I care about all these things. Alrighty. Every now and again, you can just give this a little stir, make sure the sugar is kind of like getting all up in there. You want to make sure that she's not hiding on the bottom. Now, if you have a melon baller, this will be a lot easier. I don't have a melon baller apparently here. So I'm going to use a teaspoon. This is actually a half teaspoon. Depending on the size of your pear, pick an appropriately sized teaspoon or melon baller. The goal is to get deep enough to get that little circle of seeds that are in the center of the pear. That's what you want to do. Okay. Now, you could also peel and not core and poach, but it will take longer to poach, and that's cool too. Then when you cut them open, you will slice out the core like you normally would in a pear. That's cool. I guess we could do that. I'm in it now though. But I do want to make sure that I can get the poaching liquid inside. It's going to cook the pears faster, it's going to speed up the whole process, and it'll keep the outside of the pear from getting mushy by the time the inside is actually cooked. Even though I really wanted to, and I'm going to make this one try to do it. Oh, she's a little riper. She might actually do it. We got seeds, people! We've got seeds! You're like, that didn't seem easy at all. It wasn't. Oh, she's boiling. Look at this timing. The good news is that since our pot is now ready, our liquid is now ready, we can just take our pears and place them directly in our poaching liquid, which isn't deep enough. So we'll remedy that in a minute. All right, so you can see that the liquid is not covering the pears entirely. This is kind of a tragedy. It's not the worst tragedy, but it is a tragedy. So you have two options here. You can add more pears, and that will bring the level of the liquid up, and it will coat them, or you can change your pot. So you can make your pot into a smaller one that has a smaller base and is taller, and then that will allow the pears the depth that they need in order to be fully encompassed. Also, you can turn them. As they're cooking, just turn them, and they will, because there's always going to be, since there's an air pocket in there with that we created by coring it, you know, you're always going to have, they're going to want to float. So you're always going to get one side that's got like a little like hip out. So you just poke it back down. Anyways, as we were, I'm going to place this back on the heat at a low simmer. We're going to simmer them until they're tender. All right, we're back. It's been about an hour and a half, which for pretty ripe pears is about an appropriate amount of time. They were like, if your pears are not ripe at all and they're hard as little rocks, then it's going to take quite some time, and they might never quite get quite as supple. Like, you want that to ride the line of ripeness. You don't want them to be so ripe that they're soft, because then, like, if they're not peeling nicely, they're going to be too soft and mushy when you poach them. If they are, like, you could throw them against a wall and the wall would dent, then they're never going to get nice and soft. And even if you poach them, maybe just wait. All right, so anyways, the way that you test them is you want to poke them. So you want the cake tester to go in there nice and easily, like just in and out, just real, no resistance, right through the stem area. Obviously we hollowed out the center, so that is going to cook faster. So you just want to go ahead and just kind of make sure that it's poking nicely. And now we're done. So what we're going to do is we're going to cool the pears and the liquid separately. We are going to cool our pears on a plastic lined half sheet. You could put them in a bowl, you could put them wherever you'd like. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop them out. Be careful that you empty the center before you place them on the pan, or you might get the liquid everywhere. If they are very soft, then they will probably kind of flatten as they cool. This doesn't matter, okay? What does matter is that you get them out of the liquid to cool before you put them back in the liquid, because otherwise they will continue to cook and you will end up with mush. So go ahead and take our pears. I'm going to put these in the refrigerator and let them cool completely. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cool my poaching liquid, and I'm just going to pour it out, and I'm going to let this cool separate from my pears. And then once they're cool, I'm going to combine them and let them sit. And they're cool. So obviously I cooled the liquid and the pears separately, and then I put them back together, and now they're just kind of, you know, chilling in their poaching liquid. You do want to store them in their poaching liquid, because they will, you know, they'll keep longer that way. And also for red wine poached pears, it takes about 2 days to get all of that bright red color all the way into the center of the pear. So yes, they're cooked. Yes, the outside is red, but if you want the whole pear to be red, especially a larger pear, then it is going to take 2 to 3 days. So I am going to cover this, and I'm going to pop this back in my fridge, and I'm going to let it sit for, you know, a couple days basically until the weekend, and then I will use them. So now they're totally ready to eat. They're cooked, they're beautiful, they're going to be flavored with the wine. So you can bake them into a tart with almond cream, or you can serve them on cake with a bit of the sauce and again soaked into the cake with some whipped cream. You can serve them with ice cream with a bit of the sauce warmed up on top, like almost like a thick syrup. Yum.